I'm Ashton Addison from Blockwise Capital for Investment Pitch Media and the Crypto Coin Show. And today on Blockchain Interviews, we have Barrett, the core contributor of Cypher Protocol. Barrett, welcome to the show, and thank you for taking the time.
Hey, Ashton, appreciate it. Excited to be here and chat all things Cypher, DeFi, and Solana.
Yeah, very exciting. I think what Cypher's working on Solana is something that not a lot of people in crypto are doing right now, but I think will be a huge industry moving forward, especially in years to come as we're still early on. I would love for you to kick off our conversation by just a little bit about your time in blockchain, how that led to contributing to Cypher, and then what Cypher's all about.
Yeah. Wow. So I guess like my time in blockchain, like as a developer or like a builder in like the ecosystem really kicked off at the beginning of 2021. I'd been like widely familiar with like the space, given like my background in math and finance. So it's always been something that's like very interesting to me. And, you know, obviously played around with like Bitcoin back in the day in like 2012.
Nice.
Thought it was really cool. And then, you know, it was a lull for like a handful of years, and then like 2017 started to like really ramp up like paying attention again.
Amazing. And now that's led you to working on Cypher, which, you know, from just playing with Bitcoin to now working on a futures protocol on Solana is a big step. I'd love to hear a little bit about, you know, Cypher, what inspired you to start building this technology, and just overall, what is Cypher?
Yeah, so Cypher is a expiratory or dated futures protocol on Solana, which means that unlike normal, futures in Solana ecosystem or in DeFi at large, right, they're perpetuals, right? So these markets actually expire and will settle, right? Just like more of like a traditional style futures product.
Cool. Well, when I think of futures, there's been a lot of talk with Bitcoin adopting futures and Ethereum. Solana's still a little bit down the list, I think, for the mainstream financial institutions and the main exchanges to start implementing that. But I think of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, and I believe they're doing some kind of futures with Bitcoin. Is that different from what's going on with Cypher? And maybe you can explain those differences?
Yeah, of course. So like the CME, they have like Bitcoin futures and Ethereum futures, and those are, traditional futures products on like the layer one token themselves, right? Whereas Cypher enables access to a variety of different asset classes, right? We aren't just focused on, providing futures for like general spot tokens like Solana, ETH, BTC. We're, creating these rather unique markets that the community is really driving, the initialization of, right? Mm-hmm. So initially, the markets that are tradable on Cypher will be pre-public markets. So your pre-IPO, pre-IDO, allowing, retail and institutions to gain exposure to late stage private capital markets, right? Really democratizing that access and bringing price discovery forward, right? Currently, IPOs and IDOs suffer from the inability of like liquidity and actual open market trading, right? So when you see like a company that IPOs or has an IDO, they're relatively volatile, big price gaps up, sometimes down as well, right? And a protocol like Cypher, right, would be able to be a facilitator of understanding what the market is willing to pay for some asset given its public launch, right? And I think that that's like something that's really exciting, and one of the big reasons why the team got in and got dirty and started building the protocol itself, right, is really to open up that access, right? I think that that's like a big ethos in DeFi and in crypto at large, right, is democratization, open, transparent financial systems. And one of the most closed and undemocratized spaces in finance is like private capital markets, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Good point. And when I think of, you're right about like the low liquidity, and it feels like if there's an IDO coming out, especially if it's more of a speculative one, it's not like a name brand that is going to succeed. It's anybody's game where it's going to go, and if you have one of those pre markets to sort of have that supply and demand and to get a glimpse of like where's the market see this valued at as it's coming out. I think that's obviously very helpful. And you mentioned there, open, transparent, democratized. I'm curious about the democratization and sort of the decentralization of the platform as well. And one thing that I think of is with these listings of different futures, what's the approval process? Can anybody list it in a totally decentralized protocol, or is the founding team, or is there a committee that sort of determines what should be traded and what should not be traded?
Yeah, great question. So the way that like a market gets initialized, right, is the community, the token holders, the DAO, right, get together, somebody or an institution, a single person, right, a group of people, right, come together and they go, hey, we want to trade, this type of market, right? Whether that's SpaceX or Psi options prior to an IDO or an IEO, right? They can come, they make that proposal, then the DAO, the community holders, the token holders, right, get together and they vote yes or no, right, to initialize a market. If vote passes, then the market would be programmatically, initialized by the smart contract that sits on Solana's chain. And then that's kind of how we maintain this. It's not truly permissionless, right? Because you can't just come and like seed a market, but it is permissionless in a sense, right? Like the core contributors don't have the control to be like, hey, like you can't list this market, right? Or XYZ other things. That's really up to the community and the token holders. So maybe a market does get initialized and it's not as exciting to trade. Maybe the community won't continue to initialize other markets in that like sector, right? And so this helps prevent this long tail of low liquidity style markets. So we want to keep a lot of people engaged. Being like a price discovery mechanism, you need like liquidity and volume in the protocol or those given markets, right? And so it's important to have that buy-in from the community and allowing them to be the ones that are like, hey, we want to trade this or we don't want to trade this.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, good point. And with pre-market futures that come on, once the coin comes out or the IDO or the IPO is open and the spot is actually trading on the market, does the futures continue to be listed on Cypher, or there's different expiry dates, sort of like how Bitcoin has a futures expiry for next Christmas and 2 years from now, 5 years from now? How does that work?
Yeah, great question. So initially, excuse me. So initially, when a protocol or an organization goes public, right, these markets will settle, right? And so we allow for, end of trading day. In crypto, there is no like end of trading day, right? It's 24/7. So there will be some like time frame after an IDO that the markets can work to converge towards, right? And then, at true expiration date, we utilize a couple different Oracle systems to pull in that data to the program to ensure like proper financial settlement of the actual markets, right? So yeah, so currently they will not be, there won't be like rolling expirations of these like pre-public markets and then turning into public. Now, something in the future is definitely open for us, given this is a synthetic style platform. The community can propose like, hey, we want to have rolling 30, 60, 90-day futures on, these given, spot tokens or, other types of markets that can be created through the protocol, like rarity tranche NFT futures, pair futures, etc. Right?
Definitely. Great point. And I really like that you always keep coming back to the community and that, it's their vote if they have the Cypher tokens. At least that's what I'm understanding. And I'd love to know a little bit more about the Cypher protocol governance, tokens, and if there's any other functionality, or what is the totality of the Cypher token and what it can do, and does it create a sustainable ecosystem for all the participants in the ecosystem?
Yeah, of course. So obviously, one of the big use cases for Cypher's native token will be that on-chain governance, right? Initializing new markets, in kind of adjusting how the DAO functions saying like, hey, like we want to allocate resources to certain partnerships to incentivize protocols to build on top of Cypher, whether those are structured products, other types of markets, right? Et cetera. Aggregators could be a number of different options there. Some of like the more native utility, right, will be in the form of fee reductions, right? So if you're a trader and you have a margin account for Cypher, right, and you hold Cypher's native token in there, you can reduce your fees, right? So there's a fee tier for that. And the more tokens you hold, the lower fees you have to pay, really incentivizing that long-term holding and participation in the ecosystem for Cypher.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. And can you give a snapshot of where exactly? I know you've been working on this for a while now. Where it's at right now in terms of the Expiratory futures being out. Is that already live? Is there people already trading, or what does that look like?
Yeah, great question. So the protocol is not live. We are, going to DevNet here relatively soon. I think we're targeting, end of month, early February for that, which is really exciting. Yeah, the team has been heads down for a good amount of time, really working hard to get this out to the community, and so really excited to kind of turn the lights on in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And when you do get this out, obviously this is a huge step forward for driving more traditional traders, institutions, people that also just like advanced options and more flexibility, not just trading Bitcoin and Ethereum spot. What kind of audience do you see using this primarily? Do you think this is just crypto traders, or are we getting in bigger institutions?
Yeah, great question. So the way that we look at it is that this is, a democratization tool, right? So we do anticipate to see a good amount of retail excitement about these style of markets, as well as, in the future, I believe that institutions will, start to begin like the heavier flow into, DeFi and crypto at large. And so very excited about those, opportunities in the future. But, we are understanding that the early, adopters of the protocol will be more crypto native people. They're already more familiar with on-ramping, liquidity and interacting with these dApps, although we have done I believe like a good job of designing something that is very, retail oriented, something similar to that of like a Robinhood or a public.com to help onboard new users into the space. But definitely are focused, on, retail or crypto native institutions in the early days, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I'd love to get your perspective on, the technology underlying Cypher using the Solana blockchain. I haven't seen futures products on Solana. Maybe you can talk about that niche on Solana and also just why Solana is the best technology for Cypher's protocol.
Yeah, great question. So there are a couple of other like futures protocols out there, or derivatives protocols in general, right? You have Mango markets. They, have spot and perps. Perps are perpetual futures, right? There's Drift, it's perpetual futures. You have Zeta markets that is doing, they're doing expiratory futures on spot tokens, as well as some like options. Psi Options is here doing options as well. So there's a number of really awesome derivative style products. I think, Cypher's niche, again, there aren't that many people doing the expiratory, the dated nature of futures, right? Most of them are perps and DeFi and crypto kind of in general. In Cypher, on top of, kind of focusing on this more expiratory and dated nature, being that like synthetic style, the protocol can be utilized to create a myriad of markets, right? Which is something that I think is really exciting. You can design really creative financial products like the NFT rarity tranche index futures. You could do something on inflation for like traditional style currencies like US dollar and euro. You can do pairs, right? Like FX style for crypto, et cetera, which is super exciting, right? And then, so I think that that's kind of like really where, Cypher's like slotting in their niche in the awesome amount of, protocols in the Solana ecosystem. Now, for why we chose Solana, given that we, believe that institutions are coming in the future, you're going to need something that has like high throughput capability, and transactions are really cheap, right? And so Solana provides both of those, and I think that that's something really important. Also, we're built on top of Serum, which is a decentralized order book mechanism in the Solana ecosystem. Provides a lot of liquidity across like a number of different protocols, actually, which is super exciting. And if you want to gain, a lot of adoption from crypto and non-crypto native people, right? I think an order book is the appropriate way to do so. It really allows for that price discovery to be brought forward, right? So you really need somebody in there placing a bid-ask order, saying, I'm willing to buy this asset at something, or I'm willing to sell this asset at something, to understand what the market is willing to pay for some given asset, right? Whereas like AMMs under like today's like infrastructure and design choices, it's really like, hey, here's X amount of money, I want to buy this token, and you'll swap me like some amount that's specified by the AMM's curve on that given pool, and so not such a great price discovery mechanism, but is utilized a lot for trading in DeFi and swapping between certain currencies. But again, really focus on that order book. So Serum was one of like the original protocols in Solana, and given that it was already an on-chain order book, it made a lot of sense for us to utilize that infrastructure and build on top of it. Composability is very nice with Anchor being like the new, I shouldn't say new, one of the opinionated frameworks in the Solana ecosystem, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that background information, and it's great to hear that you are working on with the Serum DEX, because I actually do like the Serum DEX. I think it's a great staple in the Solana ecosystem, and good points about institutional adoption, high throughput, all things that are going to be necessary for high frequency and effective trading. So thank you so much for explaining all of this, Barrett. For the communities that are looking to follow along with Cypher for the launch, to learn more about it and get involved in the communities, what is the best way for them to learn more?
Yeah, so I think like some of the best ways, follow us on Twitter at Cypher_protocol, and that's CYPHER. And then we have like a Discord community as well. The Discord link is in the Twitter bio. We also have, a newsletter that we send out. So if you go to cypher.trade, you can sign up for the newsletter and stay up to date. Obviously, I think, the newsletter is like once a week, whereas like Twitter is like more in the know, updates constantly. The Discord community is, starting to blossom, which is very exciting. And so I think if you're looking for more day-to-day updates, Twitter and Discord. If you're looking for more, like structured, longer form stuff, that newsletter. We also have, we publish like blogs on the website for, talking from anything from like education to, what is Cypher, like assets, etc. And then we also, have a couple like Medium articles out there as well.
Very cool. Thank you, Barrett. I will leave all those links as well for the viewers in the description box below. I appreciate you taking the time to come on. All the best with Cypher moving forward in 2022 and beyond. And let's follow up in the near future.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ashton. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come on the pod.